Alright, welcome to episode 69 of Water Civilization Started Over. In the last episode, we saw the end of World War One, or kind of World War Two, depending on your opinions on the 7 Years' War. So this is the map in episode 66, I believe. As we can see, the Ukrainians and the Polish have their invading areas into Russia, which I will need to remove at this point, because they're not invading anymore. They lost the war, if you weren't aware. So these areas of occupation are now gone. The Russians are actually occupying their country. I don't. Well, I do the occupation map at the end of the war. I just don't want to get it yet. Anyway, so yeah, in today's episode, we're going to do the peace treaty and all the things that at the end of the war. This is also as the I reversed the map back, so I don't have the Chinese invasion into Korea anymore. But we will kind of talk about that towards the end of this episode. But yeah, we can start with stuff here, and actually we can start off with the German country because they're going to do some stuff. Alright, so the Germans will be annexing this very, very small part of the Polish colony over here, and this is going to cause a lot of discontent. Is this what I wanted to give them? I don't think I wanted to give them any more, did I? I think I didn't. I might change it in a second though. Discontent within the German nation as they believe this territory should be annexed into their... Yeah, it did. Give me a second. Apparently no, you don't get a second. Alright, so I changed my mind on the borders just a little bit. So the Germans have traded that province for one in the north. I'm not sure if it offers any benefit. No, it didn't. It's fine. Anyway, so the Germans are very unhappy about this because they believed that Polish colony, which was initially colonized by German shit people, colonizing people. Who cares? They started that colony, so they thought they should get all of it. However, it was like a vast majority of the troops who conquered those territories were Norwegian troops, and it's mostly German troops. Well, it's only German troops. Damn it, I can't talk. The only German troops that fought there was stopping like a very small-scale rebellion. So yeah, they didn't really get that much of it, but that's all right. They'll probably get other things from Poland. Anyway, I might also focus on colonial stuff at the start because that's the less interesting stuff that I don't think you care about. So let's go down here to Sumatra. Alright, so here's the division they have proposed for the island of Sumatra. Oh, Sumatra, I don't know how you pronounce it. Anyway, yes, the British have taken over the northern part, and the southern part has gone to the Norwegians. The British look like they've taken less stuff, and they kind of have, I think. But they've taken the more valuable territory, especially along the Strait of Malacca, which has like a 60 or possibly like 90%. I think it's 80% of world trade goes through this strait in real life. So if the British manage to hold on to this for like a really long time, it would be really good, and it will be even like this point in time. And yeah, the Norwegians still get some pretty alright sort of stuff. Don't know why it's so shrieky, but there you go. So that is the division of Sumatra. There's no more stuff we need to do down here in Southeast Asia. We're not going to go there yet. India is fine, and I guess we can go to Europe now. I'll get to this bit in a second. Actually, let's do Libya first. Libya should be kind of fun. So the Turkish Libyan colony, it's a pretty old one. They've had this since they invaded Greece and Bulgaria, and also, of course, Libya. However, this territory was invaded by both the Egyptian colony of the northern Spanish country, and also, what are you doing? I don't know if you can hear that. Also, the Libyan colony of the Italian country. So today we're going to be dividing it up. Let's do that. Alright, so I've drawn the borders for the division of this territory. It's not going to be any sort of independent state. How we see the Italians take over all of this territory, and in the east, the Spanish take over all of this. As the Italians seem to get a bit less from that treaty, and that's because they're going to get stuff elsewhere. As you can see, they were surrounded by a lot of different opponents. If we go into the religion layer, that's kind of an interesting thing that we can do. We can actually, I did update this for Libya, because Libya is an ethnic mess. Yeah, this bit's all Roman religion. We've got a whole lot of African religion, and there's like Greek pockets and stuff, and there's Roman bits. It's just a huge mess. The Greeks they sent their religion to this area, but you know, religion's also going to be kind of important in some aspects of this treaty. But yeah, let's continue on. I guess I could do potentially more stuff in Mesopotamia, but I'm not going to do. First off, what we need to do over here is go over to the Italians, because the Italians naturally will be taking over the entirety of the Italian peninsula, including southern Italy and also Sicily. Sicily and Malta. Also these islands that they should have taken over ages ago. But now we need to head over to Hungary. Actually, I might do the Balkans first. Like this part of the Balkans. Of course, Hungary is kind of in the Balkans. They're a very big country. So yeah, back in a sec. I don't know why I say that, because I'll be back in an instant for you. Yeah, so I changed my mind, and instead I drew this border here for Italy. So I've done the Balkan territories in Hungary, just because I kind of wanted a better perspective for the Bulgaria thing. Normally, what I would like to do is, do the outline. That's probably what I'm going to do for Bulgaria. It's just, I just kept making changes to this border. Like initially, it didn't have as much territory up here in the north, but for some reason, all the provinces in this area are really straight. Um, and there's just loads of really straight lines here for some reason, especially around in this territory. So I changed that. They've also annexed a bit of territory in the south, especially like these three provinces. I do believe were Turkish, so they annexed those from the Turks, which makes Turkey's Greek territory look really horrible. But yeah, I just thought, I'd do this first. But now I'm going to do Bulgaria. Don't worry. Alright, so I've drawn this for Bulgaria, and you might be confused, as in, why is Bulgaria split into what is technically 3 or maybe even 4 different groups? And that's for a pretty interesting reason. So what I've done here is I've brought back the borders of the old Bulgarian country. I was considering whether or not to do, oh, you can't say that, brilliant, the culture layer version of Bulgaria, which is a lot smaller, but in the end I went with doing the full old Bulgarian borders here. So yeah, I don't know if that was a good decision or not, but it's the one I've gone with, so let's do that anyway. However, there is this strange little line down here, and that is because this part of Bulgaria, this Bosphorus area, is going to be going to Britain. Britain, if you couldn't guess already, is currently the strongest country in the entire world. They were second before, and now they've won the war, and they've just become even more powerful. So yeah, naturally, the British will be annexing the Bosphorus Strait from the Bulgarian country, who fought for their independence, but also fought against the British and all the other people of the Triangle Alliance. So they're like, well, you're going to get punished with this, but you do get a country, so that's good. I also said a country. Yeah, I mean 3 countries, because the nations of Europe are pretty afraid of this general circle all around the Middle East and kind of into the Balkans. Bulgaria, for a while, was like the third or second strongest country in the entire world. Look how small it is. It's not a very big country. Well, it kind of is. I mean, let's find out. However, it managed to do an awful lot, and they're kind of afraid it would disrupt. Actually, yeah, to be fair, this is most of Serbia, most of Bulgaria, most of Romania, Moldova, parts of Ukraine. Pretty big. Cool map. Anyway, yeah, they're just kind of afraid these guys would ruin their attempts to try and stabilize Eastern Europe and make it like a better place. So, in the aim of making Eastern Europe better, they're going to be splitting Bulgaria into 3 different nations. So I'm going to find some colours now. Alright, so here we go. We split Bulgaria into 3 different countries, and then Britain, British ownership of the Bosphorus Strait. We also will see the Bulgarians, in the eastern Bulgarians, I suppose, annex this territory. They're more kind of Serbian, aren't they? Are they? I don't remember. Yeah, they're kind of Serbian / Romanian. And Montenegrin as well. Anyway, 3 different countries. We have southern Bulgaria, northern Bulgaria, and western Bulgaria. So now we need to do capital cities. One country, which is this northern one, actually has the old capital of Bulgaria, which was of course in Romania, because it was in Dobruja, which is actually Bulgarian. No, I'm pretty sure it's pretty ethnically Romanian now, but Bulgaria looked cooler with it, like in real life. Anyway, so the northern Bulgarians put their capital there, the southern Bulgarians put their capital, let's put it right here, and the western ones will put their capital, I don't know, let's put it somewhere in central Romania. Actually, let's just go on this map and look where they have their cities. I'm going to put it in this one, I don't care. It's like surrounded by the mountains, kind of. So yeah, we have our new countries down in the southern Balkans. Looks pretty different, and the Hungarians have this horrible looking border right here, which I might just go and change. I haven't really decided what I want to do with that. I thought about it for a good 5 seconds there, and then restarted recording again, because I just remembered there's another country I need to do, which is Greece, and I might give it to them. So yeah, we will be creating a Greek state. Alright, so I changed the colour of this country in the north of Greece, and to the south we have Greece, of course. So the Greeks are back. They look kind of different. This is our 3rd Greek nation. This one's yellow, so that's cool. We're going to go all of the colours in Greeks. Anyway, their old capital of their country was over here in the west. However, they're going to be changing their capital because this country is kind of born from the religious stuff aspect of this country. If we look at the religion map, as you can see, the capital of the Greek religion is on the island of Euboea, which is this weird looking one over here. It has a long hair for some reason. So yeah, I don't know if there's a city there, but I'm going to make one regardless. So yeah, this country will be getting its capital city. Nice. It's a pretty defensive place, an island. I don't know. Speaking from someone who has their own capital city on an island. Well, the entire country's on an island, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so they put their capital right over here, and I'll just put a city there as well. Cool, nice. Greece. Woohoo. So we have another Greek country. I like Greece. So yeah, they don't get any of the old territory the Greeks used to own over in Smyrna sort of area of Western Anatolia. However, they're still pretty happy. They've got their own country back, and they've got some nice looking territory. I think I'm going to give this to the grey country. I'm not done with Hungary yet, don't worry. Hungary's going to get punished more. Alright, so I was going to give the territory to the Romanian country that needed to be taken from northern Hungary. However, I ended up doing all of the changes to the Romanian country, so let's do that, as I kind of just want to make sure I kind of got okayish borders. So they take this territory from northern Hungary, they take this territory, which is like really close to the old capital of the Slovak country. They take this southern Polish territory, and then both of these parts of the Ukrainian country, making them a really large nation now, as before they looked like this, and they've gained all of this territory. So quite a lot for a country this is their second war, I think, ever. And like a nearly 70-year-long series. So that's funny, and now we just have one final thing to do to Hungary. Alright, so I've now divided Hungary into two once again. I feel kind of bad for Hungary. I have really absolutely obliterated their nation. However, oh well, is what it is. This is war. And they just don't really like the Balkans very much. However, this new kind of Serbian country does need to get a capital city. So we're going to put their capital, what's my right size brush? Right over here in the south, near to the other country. The other Hungarian split off. But Hungary, like, this is a lot of land, even if they gained just all of this back. But they're also missing the stuff in the north and the south of the country. So, well, actually, yeah, everything just went kind of badly for them. But, oh well, it is what it is. And yeah, so Hungary's gone, big Romanian country, and now we can do Ukraine. Alright, so I've divided up the northern territories of both of these countries, with the Russians taking over all of this land. I'm not sure I love how it looks, but Russia might be a country that becomes more important going on from after World War One. So these borders will probably change. So I'm just gonna all I really wanted them to have was this territory, allowing them to get access to the Baltic Sea. That was their main goal in this war, really. After they decided they weren't going to immediately collapse. So yeah, now we can divide up Ukraine and also Astrakhan and potentially also Turkey. So we'll get to that. Alright, so the first thing they do here between all three of these countries is recreate the nation of Caucasia. However, Caucasia isn't very big. These are the old borders of the Caucasian country. So, these are the ones in episode 63 when they were last attacked by all three of these countries and completely destroyed. I won't put the face of the map. So it's a shame for them. However, these guys would like to strengthen the Caucasian country because of the fact that they are, they're kind of the crossroad between this Middle Eastern territory where they've had the scary Turkey, Ukraine, Astrakhan, Central Asia, where they used to have the scary Central Asian country. They're just in a pretty good position, so they kind of want to make them a bit stronger. So if we go on the culture map, you can see the Caucasian culture does extend pretty far into Turkey, Azerbaijan, Astrakhan, and Ukraine. So yeah, we'll see which of these territories they actually manage to get. Alright, so Caucasia will be able to annex all of these territories to the north of their border. It's quite a lot of stuff, really. So they get all this stuff in Ukraine and all the stuff from Caucasia, or Astrakhan, I mean, which kind of makes Astrakhan look like their faces have been smashed in. Turkey, I'm not going to do yet because there's more important things that need to happen to Turkey, kind of involving the Mesopotamian country, but we can tend to Astrakhan and Ukraine, so I'll do that. Alright, so here are the borders for the division of Eastern Astrakhan. They do not bring back that random yellow country because the random yellow country failed. They really, really failed at being a nation. So that's gone, and the Russians take over all these territories, and in the east we see the blue country expand, so now they have access to the Caspian coast, and they really surround the green country, who is not very strong. So that's a shame for them. Alright, so I might have overdone it slightly with the destruction of Ukraine, but Ukraine has been split off into 5 different sub-nations. We have still got Ukraine, and they're still a fairly large nation, so they definitely dominate this area still, because that'd be kind of mean if they didn't. But they're not in a great way at the moment. Anyway, let's do capital cities for all of these new countries. So the purple country has barely any cities. They're going to put their capital over here. The brown country is going to put theirs around there. The red country will put theirs over here. Blue country is going to put theirs in the center. And the yellow country only has 2. So they're going to put theirs over here in the east. Nice. Okay. Cool. Here are all of our new Ukrainian sub-countries. Don't know if any of them are going to exist that long or be important for the rest of the series. This part of the treaty, I kind of just drew random colours. Like, a lot of these new countries I've created, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just like, you know what, this will be fun, let's do that. So yeah, now we're going to go to Poland. Alright, so Germany is going to take a huge load of western Polish territory, being all of this land, extending them even further west, and yeah, they're now taking like Danzig and loads of Polish stuff. That's cool. For the Germans, definitely not for the Polish. But yeah, Czechia is also pretty German as well, or at least the Bohemian parts. Moravia is still pretty Polish. Anyway, yeah, also Hungary is now Slovakia. Poland still has a lot of territory to be divided because this territory in the north isn't exactly core territory. However, the division of this territory is going to be left up to the Russians and the Norwegians. So let's see what they do with that. Alright, so Poland now looks absolutely horrific, and Eastern Europe looks like an absolute mess, but that's kind of just been what we've been doing in this peace treaty. So Poland has lost all three of these new countries in the north. I did not bring back the beige Latvian and Estonian countries. Oh well. Poland still has kept the Slovak territory, and that's because... wait, do I have the map of Slovakia? I do. Yeah, bringing back Slovakia would make it just like... Why would you bring back this country? It'd be such a small nation. And we're just going to keep Poland as it is, unless they collapse and lose Slovakia later on. I don't know. So this is kind of the old pink country over here. Anyway, this video is kind of getting long, and it's like it's a peace treaty episode. It's not meant to take that long. So, how strange. Anyway, Poland is going to need to give these guys capitals, or these guys will. So you're going to put your capital there, you put yours in your only city, and you will put yours... Oh, let's put it right here. Cool. 3 new countries to go with all the other new countries you've made, and now we can head around to Turkey. Let's do that. Alright, so here in Turkey we have brought back 2 very historic countries. One of them already existed, but Mesopotamia has returned, so that's good. They don't have all the territory that this old country used to own. I think it's episode 34 borders, because they lost them to surrounding countries. But Oman is back with their full borders, and they're also going to take over all this territory from the Turks as well. And now it's just this bit, and yeah, we'll see what happens with that. Alright, so we have seen a partition of all this territory. The nation of Daman was brought back. However, the country's kings died, so the next in line noble just marries the king of Mesopotamia, and they agreed to partition the country. The capital will go over into the Mesopotamian country, along with lots of the core territory around the capital. Well, actually all this territory is like their core stuff. However, lots of this stuff is much more religious and rural, so that will be joined up with the Omani country. So in the north, we see the Mesopotamians take over all of this stuff, including all the capital, and Oman will take over all of this territory. And then we can head down here to the very west, where Mecca is now its own free city-state. However, it's also like European religion, so I just thought that'd be a fun parallel. I was going to add it to Mesopotamia instead, but in the end I was like, you know, we can just make it its own country, and that's what I've done. So that's fun, and now we need to go to the matter of Turkey. First off, we see occur for the Turks is that a load of this territory over here in the west, or east of their country, will be annexed into the nation of Caucasia, which now extends even further down into Anatolia and just generally down into the world. I guess, I don't know. So they have all of this land, and now we get the rest of the partition. Alright, so here's what's happened to the nation of Turkey. So, in the south we can see this new nation being created, and unfortunately for Mesopotamia, lots of this land is going to come from theirs, as I'll explain in a second. Actually, I'll just do it now. This country is kind of a state between all of these regions. This region is highly contested. It's between Roman religion and also Mesopotamian religion. So it's not one core group here. Cyprus also split like a North Cyprus sort of way, which is funny, I suppose. So they created this country instead. They also created this orange country, so the Turks didn't have, as much power over just generally everything. So that happens. The orange country, however, will take some of this southern Turkish land, which, or from the pink country, which is more Syrian, I suppose. So they lose all of this territory, and then who is this purple guy over here in the west of Turkey? Well, of course, it's the nation of Italy, as they pull off a Treaty of Cyprus sort of thing. I don't know. And take over a bit of Anatolia, with the rest of the Turkish nation being left just as it is, like that. And I think that concludes the peace treaty of World War... No, it doesn't. Yeah, I realized that I meant to give this bit of Yemen to the Norwegian Ethiopian colony, which I didn't do, so I've done that now, and I think that will actually finally conclude the peace treaty of World War One. Now I bet that's something that I've missed, because there almost definitely is. Capitals for those countries. I guess I'll do that. Alright, so the orange country is going to put its capital down here in the southern part of its country, and the Syrian country will put theirs right over here in the southern part of the Hatay peninsula / province area of Turkey. So there we go. Here are all of our new countries. I think they all should have capital cities. And yeah, this is the world following the end of World War One. A load of new. Oh wait, I just remembered one more nation that I forgot to do a capital for. And I bet you can't guess. It's the friggin' city-state one. There you go. There you go, my little city-state friend. Cool. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. There was one more thing I was going to talk about, but this video is already like 20 minutes long. So yeah, see you again next time. Goodbye.